Hi everyone, my name's Hannah Tyreman. I work at the Sheffield College as the Learning Improvement and Development Manager. CPD is something that I started to feel passionate about when I was teaching at Reading College, and I was teaching English, GCSE and A-level, and I was approached by some senior leaders to kind of say, we're thinking of looking at CPD a little bit differently, do you want to get involved? And I had about a gazillion ideas, mainly because I'd sat through so many CPD sessions that were dreadful for a variety of reasons, and I wanted that to change for my own personal development. And what I've found since moving on that journey is that I can just change development for other people as well, and that's kind of what keeps me going on that journey. I've been doing in the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of reading around kind of what makes CPD really effective, because I thought I knew, and there were things that I thought I knew would make it great and relevant and things for people, but I thought, let's see what other people have to say and what reading is out there. So if you're interested in looking at the same, I think most practitioners should look at it. There's a document being written, and it's basically a collation of all the research into CPD, and they've looked at kind of various different elements of it and then picked out sort of the main themes and the really kind of salient points about development, and it's called Developing Great Teaching, and basically all of my ideas around a lot of the CPD that I now facilitate and put together came from that document and the research that lies behind it. And kind of since I've finished a lot of that reading, I've developed a bit of an acronym, which I haven't written about or shared anywhere yet, and I've just decided at this moment that I'm going to share it. So it's basically that CPD should be rich. It should be a rich learning experience, and each of those letters stands for something. So the R means that CPD should be relevant. By that, I think if you're watching this as an educator or a learning support assistant or anybody who works in business support in a college or even a leader or manager, I think you've probably sat in some CPD that wasn't relevant to you, and you'll have sat there with your head on the table, not interested in it at all, because it's not hitting those challenges that you really need to solve in your practice. So those daily things that you kind of think, I need a solution to this, or actually these are the things that really interest me and I want to look at that a little bit more. So anything organised by a college needs to be relevant to everyone, and to achieve that, it therefore needs to be varied, and so you need lots of different kinds of activities provided in different ways for people to engage with, because then they make it relevant for themselves because you've shown them different avenues and different places to go. I think if you gather everyone in a room or in several rooms and churn out lots of activities that you've decided upon around a certain theme, you'll lose a lot of staff because it's not necessarily meeting what they want it to. And I guess that's where technology can open a lot of doors with that. So one of the things that I try to do with any development day is provide online content for people to explore. So whether that's videos that they just kind of watch and reflect on or comment upon, whether it's social media chats that we have either in Google Plus communities or on Twitter, whether it's kind of engaging with a video that's been put into Edpuzzle first, so it turns into an activity and there are kind of thought-provoking questions or activities for them to work through. Online learning can open up those doors for individuals who sat in a workshop session, might not gain much from it because there's maybe not quite as much interaction as they'd like, or perhaps not quite as much kind of individualisation. And I guess that's where the I comes in, is that it should be individual and you should think about the individual person in that room. I think it's something that as teachers we often think about in our classroom, or at least we should think about every single individual student in that room. Are they learning? Is this relevant for them? And actually, are they going to be excited and interested and engaged in it? So what are their interests and what would they like to explore? So providing variety helps you to achieve a lot of that, I think. So individual, but I also think the I stands for inspirational, which is that it should provide new perspectives. So things that staff wouldn't necessarily have encountered before, and it might be something that really challenges them, pushes them outside of their comfort zone. I was reading something yesterday actually for a blog I'm in the middle of writing about how to make CPD effective for business support staff, because I think they're often a neglected part of our college community in terms of catering for their development, just as much as we do any other staff. And one of the things I was looking at is how much more we learn when we're outside of our comfort zone. So things that we wouldn't normally think are useful for our job role can be. One example that I've got is that, so with my staff within the staff development team, we've had roughly weekly, sometimes fortnightly ideas meetings where I have shared either a blog or a video before we meet. We get about a week to have a look through it, write some notes about it, think about what it means to us and our job role and our context and what ideas it might have ignited. And then we get together and we discuss it, and more often than not, that video about something turns into something that we can actually do better in our job roles. So one of the things that I shared with them was Simon Sinek's TED Talk, all about why, and sort of the why being at the core of what we do. And so my team, it's had the biggest impact on us this year. My team are now exploring the why of everything we do in order to engage staff with it. Because I think staff can buy in when they see why we've done it a certain way, or why they should get involved in the first place. And so making that why explicit and sharing our aims for development activities and development opportunities that we're sharing with staff help them to engage with it and connect with it. And we've seen kind of huge rises in numbers in terms of staff engaging with evaluations and staff engaging in events as a result of adding the why. And so it's something that, it's a video they would never have come across before. They hadn't been familiar with TED Talks, and it wasn't something they wouldn't have necessarily looked at because it wasn't directly relevant to their job role or to staff development. But the windows that opened and the things that it inspired them to do and think about is why development is worth investing in, no matter what your role, and kind of investing that time in. So we've got relevant and inspirational or individual so far. The C is all about the collaborative aspects of it. So whether that's collaborative kind of problem solving or collaborative ideas sharing, I think collaboration provides that opportunity for staff to connect with colleagues they wouldn't ordinarily connect with, and certainly connect with colleagues in a way they wouldn't ordinarily connect with them. So kind of sitting around a table away from the office and away from students and away from the daily kind of distractions, even if just for kind of 30-45 minutes, and sharing some challenges that you're facing within your job role is a really great way of kind of kick-starting that development, because you're surrounded by other perspectives that will help you to think about your job in different ways. And again, it's kind of opening those doors and windows to exploring other opportunities and resources and ideas that might help you to solve your problem. So I think collaboration, particularly for solving challenges, is a really positive thing for us to do. If you've ever sat and had a conversation with a teacher about how they facilitate their lesson, or if you're an LSA support worker and you've ever kind of sat with a colleague also providing support to the same learner or a similar learner, you'll find that each of you has got very different ways of going around kind of dealing with that situation. And you'll find that you've got very different practice to share with one another almost immediately. So if you multiply that and you get even more perspectives, and also beyond your own department or your own immediate circle, you get perspectives that you wouldn't have otherwise had. And I think social media provides an opportunity for you to connect with perspectives and experiences outside of something that you would ever encounter. So obviously Paul, who's holding this camera right now and has met me today, is somebody I met on social media because he'd seen some of my tweets and started communicating with me. And the number of things that I now go to him for or ask him questions on, or he'll share things with me and I'll share things back, I've got a book now that I want to read as a result of him kind of showing me what he's doing that way. It's a perspective, and it's something that I wouldn't have otherwise had. So I think we can't underestimate the value of connecting with others and collaborating. So that's the C. I think holistic is the final one. So that's what kind of completes that rich learning experience for staff. And what I mean by holistic, and it is a little bit forced so that the H fit, but holistic is really just about that kind of the development not just being a one-off activity. So you don't just engage with a workshop, you don't just participate in an event, but that you see it as a holistic experience. So one of the things that we've started this year at the Sheffield College is I've been running a mini learning project, which from September will be a big learning project. And the driver is that every single individual involved in that project will pick something very independently that they're going to focus on for the duration of the project. So generally it's a challenge that they want to find a solution to. They'll engage with some research in terms of what the evidence already says. They'll connect with other members of staff in order to see what they say, and it won't necessarily be staff that are in the same job role as them, so we'll have connections right across different groups of staff within the organisation. And then they'll kind of have experiments in their classroom, they'll try new things, they'll do that sort of bravery bit of it, and then they'll start to evaluate the impact that that's having in their job role. So whether they're trying out things in classrooms or whether they're trying things out in offices, because they're business support staff, we've kind of got a whole mix going on there. And that experience is holistic because it's continued, and a lot of the development that I've read indicates that learning is better if it's carried on over time. And if you think about it, it's fairly common sense. If you think about a student's learning experience, you don't just give them one learning or one lesson on a particular topic and expect them then to be expert at it and know exactly what they're doing. Development does take time, and you have to revisit it in different ways, and you have to actually approach it from different angles. So you'll get the student perhaps to be involved in a variety of different activities before they'll become completely confident and competent. And the same has to be said for staff. So I think any college that's still expecting staff to come to one development day a year, attend one workshop with everyone else, and be completely competent and confident in their job, they really shouldn't be doing that, because it's not going to be successful. A college needs to be able to provide multiple opportunities for staff to engage in that are going to meet all of those needs and be as varied and exciting and inspirational as a curriculum for students would be.